So I know some of you might get confused because I've already done a video where I basically said who the best Harley Quinn was between Arleen Sorkin, Margot Robbie, and Kaley Cuoco. I think more well-known ones out there nowadays. Obviously, they're not the only three to play the character or voice the character, but they're like the popular ones. And when you talk about Harley Quinn, those three names pop up. But despite only being around for under 30 years at this point, it'll be 30 years next year since she made her TV debut, she's had a lot of different interpretations. And some of them are not really all that memorable, and some of them are just the ones that we love and will always remember so long as the character is around, which will probably be for the rest of time, let's be honest here. Now, basically, I have not seen every single interpretation, nor can I rank every single one because I don't have a lot of background into a lot of other things. Like, there's a lot of video games, like the Injustice series, that, you know, I can go off of, and I don't really want to count the Arkham video game series because that's just its own different thing. I'm mainly focusing on the TV shows and the movies here, cartoon and live action, to kind of go through what I think are the worst, average, good, and great adaptations of Harley Quinn. However, I do want to start with two that I'm very undecided on. Like, I couldn't really put them in any category. The first one being the Birds of Prey 2020 movie, where Margot Robbie reprises her role as Harley Quinn. Now, with this being the second time that Margot Robbie's played Harley Quinn and she's already introduced herself, the character still changes a lot from what we saw in Suicide Squad, as she is now an independent anti-hero, I guess you can call her, as she has called it off with the Joker, and she's just trying to make things better for herself, but she gets herself caught up in nonsense and yada 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 blah blah blah. If you haven't seen the movie, go see the movie. I say go see it. Just go to HBO Max or just go buy it on DVD or whatever. It's probably on streaming services everywhere. And to me, the reason I'm so undecided with this one is because I think her attitude is kept very well, but all these different, like, outfits and stuff that she's wearing and the gadgets that she's using just doesn't really scream like her. Okay, maybe at the end she does use the mallet, but for the most part, I just feel like it's some sort of cosplay of her. It adds nothing to the character. It's just kind of like, yeah, okay, we've seen it before and it's not that good. And then the other undecided would have to be the Harley Quinn from Harley Quinn, the animated series. I think Kaley Cuoco, as the series has gone on, has definitely started to win me over a bit, but it's still one that I'm definitely kind of still getting used to in a way because, you know, I'm used to the Harley with the, you know, Brooklyn accent, the strong Brooklyn accent that's a little bit more of a smartass, but here, she's too focused on world domination, and to be honest with you, that was never her. She's always, sure, wanted to outdo the Joker and whatever, but I don't think she's ever wanted to stray as far as world domination, which again, they go through that in multiple episodes. There's one episode called Inner Parademons, where she basically does take over the world, but then she just, I guess Poison Ivy snaps her out of it in this case. It was supposed to be more of just, you know, a fun, uplifting cartoon that eventually led into the love story of her and Poison Ivy. I mean, that's just where it's at now, and going into season 3, that's what they're sticking with. But the character overall isn't bad, but there's still some things about it where I'm like, you know, I would probably change this just for the sake. I don't know if I would say stick to the comic book, but I definitely wouldn't have that there for my version of Harley Quinn. So now that the undecided are out of the way, I guess we gotta save the best for last, so we're gonna start off with the two worst adaptations I think I've seen, which throughout my childhood, now growing up I had young uncles, so I did grow up with Batman the Animated Series, but by the time I was born it was on its last leg, and Batman Beyond was actually up and kicking along with the Justice League series, and then later down the line, The Batman came out, and I do like all those cartoons, but the one that came out after The Batman has to be the worst one Batman-wise I think I've ever seen. And Beware the Batman came out in 2013, and that series, I watched like 2 episodes and I was like, nope, I'm done with this. This is the weirdest Batman I've seen, but it's still at least had some enjoyable moments, where with Batman the Brave and the Bold, that is the worst Batman cartoon series in my lifetime so far, and this Harley Quinn adaptation is also the worst. Like, if you blink, or you're not paying attention, you might even miss that she's even in the series at all. Because when we think Harley Quinn, we think, you know, the blonde hair with the sometimes, you know, the different color pigtails, the red and black. If she's not in a jester outfit, it's usually red and black, or, you know, some just shirt with like a red jacket or something like that. Like those kinds of colors and those details that, you know, really make us go, oh, that must be her. But in this series, she looks like a gypsy. That's really all I have to say. I mean, she's got like this black dress on with white hair, and she does have the New York accent, so I guess if you catch that, you can be like, is that her? But it literally, I remember this. My dad, he's pretty much watched a lot of the Batman stuff, and I remember he used to watch Batman the Brave and the Bold until he got tired of it, and I remember asking him this morning, I was like, hey, Batman the Brave and the Bold, do you remember Harley Quinn being in there? And he goes, no, I don't recall. And I said, well, she is. And he's like, what? And I showed him the picture, and he was like, that's stupid. I don't really like that. And I was like, see, I'm not the only one here, and a lot of people, a lot of rankings I see have this ranked as the worst interpretation of her. I don't know what it is. It doesn't go well at all. Like, maybe they tried to kidify her, because this is a more kid-friendly cartoon series, but even at that, you at least have to stick with the major details that make us know that it's her, because like I said, if you're not paying attention, then you won't even know that it's her at all, and that's why it falls under this category here. The next one in the worst category has to be the Birds of Prey TV series. Now again, I've only seen a couple episodes of this, but I have seen clips of this Harley Quinn character, and I gotta say, for it being the first like live-action adaptation of the character back in 2002, boy were we let down a lot. Now throughout this whole series, it only lasted one season, 13 episodes. Harley Quinn is actually the main antagonist in this movie. She's the, or not movie, but the series, she's the bad guy. And what really strikes me with this one is that she has powers. Yeah, I know, some people say, oh, well, when Poison Ivy injected her with that, not serum, but, you know, the stuff so she is immune to the poison, she kind of gets, you know, extra strength, a little bit more, you know, athletic ability, all that kind of stuff than what she had before. But I'm talking about, like, superpowers to where she can actually hypnotize people to do what she wants. Again, and that accent's gone, so it just seems like it's just somebody doing like a bad impression. Although they do kind of, you know, stay true to the look, actually giving her this red and black look with like the checkered, you know, chest, what do you call it, plate thing. The character overall is just not likable. Like, I sat down on HBO Max, watched most of the series, and I had to stop. I couldn't finish because I was just like, I don't know what they were trying to go with here. Like, yeah, okay, maybe making it different, but Harley Quinn has never had powers. She's never been this in control. She's never really led anything. She's always been a follower who just so happened to find herself later down the line after breaking up with the Joker. Like, this just doesn't seem right at all, and no wonder it got canceled after one season, because I guess this just even pissed off some of the major fans in a way to where they were like, what is this? This isn't how this is supposed to be. So yeah, those are the two worst adaptations I've seen. Now we're gonna go to the average. These are ones where I wouldn't necessarily call them the best I've seen, but they're also not bad. Like, I definitely would say that this is about 60-40 when it comes to, oh, it's 60% good, 40% bad. You know, I'd still recommend it to people, but I wouldn't necessarily call it my favorite. The first one being from the Batman. I remember her getting introduced in the series, and it was pretty interesting because for the most part they kept the jester outfit, just kind of, they did get rid of the diamonds on the outfit, and really threw me off was that when she puts her mask on, her pupils are non-existent. Oh, hello there! So I guess it was to give her, I don't know, maybe a creepier look. Again, it wasn't necessarily a kid-friendly cartoon, but it also kind of was, and I don't know why you would put that in there if you're trying to appeal to kids here. That could scare somebody. For the most part, story's the same, character's the same. This was actually the first non-Arleen Sorkin voiced Harley Quinn in this series. I believe it was Hayden Welsh that did it, and she has returned a couple more times to don the voice of the character, and she does a good job here too. It's just another one where I think, not that there's something missing, but it's never been my favorite interpretation just for the sole fact that it was like, I feel like after Arleen Sorkin decided to leave the role, they tried to, you know, I guess, stick to what the animated series had to offer while changing it up a bit, and it just didn't really mesh all that well together fully, but it had its moments, more bright moments than bad moments, so I will at least give it that. Now, before I mention this next one, I gotta say, when you have little nieces, you get stuck watching stuff like this sometimes. Not that I'm saying that I don't want to watch this stuff with my nieces, I like bonding with my... But you don't necessarily want to show them the darker, you know, cartoons first. You don't really want to introduce them to that at such a young age, so sometimes you gotta look at the kid-friendly route. And Harley Quinn in DC Superhero Girls is interesting, although, you know, she has since changed back to her jester outfit from what I've seen early on in the series. Her look was way different than from what we know, but the thing was, you can still tell it was her. She had the blonde hair with the different colored tips again, and instead of donning the red and black, she had on this black and white checkered outfit, and these, I think they were jorts, I can't remember, I haven't seen my nieces in a while, I'd have to sit down and watch again, but yeah, it was an interesting look to say the least, and I get it, they did that to, you know, appeal to the younger generation that the show was made for. Like, this isn't anything like, oh, the bad guys are going out and killing people, no, they like compete in events, do all this kind of stuff. It's basically like all the superheroes and supervillains were in high school together, but they're not really superheroes or supervillains yet, they're just kind of, you know, together, and they may hate each other, they may like each other, but that's about it. You know, this one is voiced by Tara Strong, who has, you know, been a reoccurring appearance for this character as well, and she has done darker versions, I will say, of this character, but for a kid-friendly version, for someone who has done kids shows before, like, of course, my all-time favorite, Fairly Odd Parents, where she's voiced Timmy Turner, she's also been the Powerpuff Girls, I believe she was Bubbles, so she's used to doing kids' cartoons like this, and I feel like she's the perfect fit for someone of that caliber to play a character like Harley Quinn, but a more kid-friendly version, because instead of this being the lovable, oh, destroy everything, kill everybody, it's more, she's, yeah, reckless, but in a kid-friendly way in this case. So I've always seemed to appreciate that character, because the younger generation can still see the wackiness of the character before learning about the true darkness that she ends up going through overall when you get to the other cartoons. So those are the average. Now we're going to get to the good. These are ones that are close to being on the great tier, but not there yet. They may never get there. Who knows? The first one is a little one called Justice League Gods and Monsters. Now the plot is very hard to tell you, but in this universe, Batman is a vampire, and Harley Quinn, who again basically keeps her whole color scheme other than her head and her makeup is different, and it's apparently her head is sewn on by the stitches, I don't know. She's a serial killer. I know, she was already a criminal and she's killed people before, but like, no, this was like psychotic, keep your family's dead bodies serial killer. That's what this was, and I'm not exaggerating when I say keep your family's dead bodies, because this version of her has her dead family just sitting around, I don't know, to keep her company. I don't even know if she had killed them or what, but they are for sure dead, and Batman goes after her. And what I do like about this is that this Harley Quinn still thinks, oh, it's Batman, he'll just take me to Arkham, he's not going to kill me. But this vampire Batman ends up biting her, ending the job, and just, I guess, killing her, even though she's probably a vampire, that's how that works. It just intrigued me to see this different take. Like, she's still a psycho, she's still a human, I would assume, and instead of donning a mallet or a baseball bat, she dons a chainsaw. Because, I mean, hey, a lot of serial killers, especially the cannibalistic ones, just look at Texas Chainsaw Massacre, wield a chainsaw at some point. So it was just a different look on the character that I do appreciate. It was a one-and-done thing, but I didn't hate it. When I saw it, I was like, that's actually pretty creepy. You made the character somewhat more psychotic than she already was. That's a hard job to do, but they did it anyway. The last one in the good tier has to be 2016's Suicide Squad, Margot Robbie's first try as Joker's girlfriend, because that's what she was in that movie. As you see a lot of scenes with her and the Joker, mostly from flashbacks, but that is what it is. And even though that movie was bad, she was one of the bright spots of the movie. She really played the character well and brought it to a live-action audience very well. I do like the outfit change. It really modernized it up a bit. I mean, she did don the Jester outfit for like 2 seconds, but I feel like if you would have went with that in a 2016 movie about or with her in it, it just wouldn't have felt right. It would have been like, yeah, you know, it's too obvious what we were going to have her wear. This time, you keep the audience guessing, like, what's she going to look like? Her look has to look different, and even Margot Robbie will tell you she picked a lot of the stuff on that outfit out to kind of, you know, make it fit what styles were big in 2016 and just what Harley Quinn herself during that time would wear overall, since this isn't the 90s anymore and she doesn't need to be in a big-ass jester outfit for no reason whatsoever. It made perfect sense, and the way she goes about doing the character, she's got, you know, the attitude, the smart-assiness, and she's just got the overall skills of the character, and it still shows the vulnerability of her that she tends to have every now and then. So I really, really do like that interpretation a lot. But those do not beat the two greatest interpretations, the ones in the great tier. Now, I might be jumping the gun on this one, but the recent The Suicide Squad, which had Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn in it, is actually a really, really, really good adaptation. Probably the best one, especially for Margot Robbie, that has been done in years with the character. It goes to show you, again, the more independent side of her. She's broken up with the Joker, so we don't have to worry about that backstory anymore. Then just kind of focus. And for the most of this movie, she is away from the Suicide Squad. She gets captured in the beginning, she kind of escapes herself, and I do like the fact that they pay homage, again, to the old Jester outfit by her leather jacket, leather outfit being red and black. That was really cool. And even when she gets dressed up and all dolled up for the one guy that she was supposed to marry in the movie, she dons this red dress that still fits her pretty well. Plus, I like the removal of some of her tattoos. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I think it was on this side of her face. She had that, was it rotten? I think it said rotten or something like that, right down the side of her face that she had in the first Suicide Squad and Birds of Prey, completely removed. But since she didn't have the Daddy's Little Monster shirt anymore, she had the shoulder, or it's kind of like chest to shoulder tattoo, kind of like what I have over here with the tattoo that I have. It goes from here to here, and it just, it again modernized the character a little bit. Her hair actually grew a little bit longer, and she just keeps that same wittiness again that you would expect from the character. Like, it's just, it changes things up while also just keeping the character that we have all grown to know and love over the years. However, I couldn't say that it was better than the Harley Quinn from Batman the Animated Series, the one that started it all. Again, this may seem biased, or this may just seem like a pretty common answer as to who's been the best adaptation of Harley Quinn, but I mean, when you look, Arleen Sorkin had nothing but the script to go off of. She couldn't read the comics, she couldn't look at past movies or cartoons, she didn't have a video game adaptation to go off of. This was purely, hey, you know that one character you played back when you did this thing? Yeah, well, we're basing this character off of that. Can you just read the script for us? And eventually the character became what it was, intended to be a one-off, but she did so well with it that the character became more reoccurring, and now, almost 30 years later, is a cult classic when it comes to DC characters and DC supervillains overall. So she laid the foundation, and people have just been kind of branching off of that since, seeing what they can do while also staying true to the character. It's just been, it was a great ride, and Arleen Sorkin, if you're watching, you did something great. She retired from the role in 2011 after doing, I think, the first 2 Arkham games, but I mean, she will always be remembered as the original Harleen Quinzel from the old series, donning the Jester outfit. I mean, it's just a classic. Like, every time someone talks about the character, that's immediately what they go through. Oh yeah, the one in the cartoon with the outfit on, you know, it's just, everybody knows that one. Even if you don't know the character in general, you know the look when it's mentioned to you. So that's why that one is the greatest of all time that I have personally lived around for, and I would assume that most people agree, but I would really love to hear what you think in the comments below. What's been the worst adaptation of Harley Quinn you've seen? What's one that's been, like, average to you, and what are some of the ones that have just been great? And you can even give me a couple that you're maybe undecided on, like, you like some portions, but you also dislike some portions, but you're not sure where on the scale of good or bad it should fall, like you're just kind of torn, and maybe you need a few more chances to see it before really judging it in this case. But other than that, that's it for me. Stay safe out there, wear your mask, get vaccinated, and I will catch you all in the next one.